This is the Unexpected Podcast. Well, here we are, and we're ready for another podcast today.
Podcast.
Or are we ready?
We're ready because I didn't tell you, but I prepared a topic today.
What?
I know you may have had something ready, but I just wanted to throw my little thingy out here.
Okay, full disclosure. At one point, Lee did tell me he might just come up with a topic idea, but I didn't think it was going to be today.
She did, and I kept it a secret, so this is unexpected.
Okay, well, I've got a little unexpected surprise, but I can save mine until later.
Oh, are you pregnant?
No. Woo, I'm...
Lord God, thank you.
No.
Yeah,
We're past that.
yeah.
Although we would always welcome.
Always welcome.
We welcome new life, always, but we're past our prime, I do believe.
Sarah was 90.
Yeah, that's true.
It's okay.
I'm not quite 90.
All right, so.
Really?
Today,
You really have a topic?
I do. I
have never been put on the spot like this.
I know. I turned it around this time. Usually it's me that has no idea what's going on.
Okay.
So here we go.
All right.
So I asked Google.
Okay.
I said AI and God. So now they have this AI overview in Google. And
yes,
so,
and I don't like it, by the way, because I find myself reading it and I'm like, stop reading that.
Yes,
stop reading that.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I'm going to get into is artificial intelligence. It's only really as intelligent as the people that make it.
Okay.
I think. So, I mean, we can have a different opinion on it, but
okay.
let me read what it says. The relationship between AI and God is a complex topic that involves how people view AI, their religious beliefs, and how AI is used in religious practices. I don't know about all that. Kind of weird.
Yeah.
How people view AI. Acceptance of AI recommendations. How apt are you to, or prone to you, how prone are you to take these suggestions of AI? We are getting into a digital age to where artificial intelligence, the algorithms are so complex and so vast that people are trying right now, it's like the race to space, but for AI right now, to get the best, whether it's Chat GPT or was it Grok, and I think Chinese.
Yeah, and then there's like Copilot, which is
some
another
other
like
ones.
large language model.
Right.
And
So
there's different ones.
There's different ones. So AI essentially in movies becomes the worldly god in movies.
Yeah.
Trying to take over the world.
Yeah.
So how do you view accepting recommendations from AI?
Okay. Well, my first inclination is to say that it all depends on what the topic is. Because I do believe that AI is probably pretty effective at retrieving certain information.
Data sets.
Well,
Maybe.
Yeah, or even so. I mean, I kind of correlate it with, say, like Wikipedia. Okay, as someone with a background in library science, we're always encouraging people like, don't use Wikipedia as a source. You can't deem something like Wikipedia
because it's editable by just random people.
Right, but it can be a good jumping off point.
Right,
and for certain factual information, generally, if it's not questionable, then you can rely on it. If it's just telling you like information about a particular country, what is its currency, just very factual things that they're probably not going to mess up. Well, I would take that over into how I would respond to AI. There's certain things that immediately I might out of the gate say, yeah, that's probably right.
So you wouldn't ask AI, should I smoke?
No.
Should I drink?
No. Although, for out of curiosity, I might ask it just to see what kind of response it's going to give, you know.
Just test it.
But I'm not going to use it to rely on myself.
So, I'm
going to go somewhere else for that kind of information.
I've gotten a kind of a thought in my head. I don't know, it's kind of funny or sad. I don't know which one it is, but artificial intelligence is when somebody pretends to know what they're talking about. I just, something came to mind in the middle of all of this of people pretending to know what they're talking about when they haven't done the work. They haven't put there are no boots on the ground with experience, and they tend to talk out of both sides of their mouth and about things that they don't. Now, there is a thing called imposter syndrome that I've suffered from before. It's like, I am not qualified to do this job, or I am not able to do this job efficiently until I understand the facts, the ins and outs of it. I'm the type of person that wants to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Should I trust AI to teach me?
Well, again, that's pretty complex. I mean, I don't. Okay, well, let's just say this. I am in some ways a traditionalist, although I'm also all for moving forward in a lot of arenas as well.
Yep.
But I mean, I already think that a lot of our modern sources of information can be called into question, because depending on what kind of topic you're looking at, there's always the possibility that you either need to follow the money trail or follow the agenda behind what's being proposed. So, I mean, you have to be able to sift through any information.
Yeah.
I think. So I think that carries over into AI. I mean, I'm just winging it here. But, I mean, I think that kind of correlates. I mean, any kind of information you're looking at, you have to question what's the source, how many sources has this drawn from? Has it only gone into this pool and not this pool? And so I think that's where kind of overall wisdom comes into play. And even from a spiritual perspective, that's where discernment, I think God gives us wisdom about things, to where you kind of look at things with a question mark.
Always.
So again, I mean, it can be a good jumping off point.
Yeah.
And it can be helpful.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not going to fully rely on AI.
So, these are some of the things that AI brought up whenever I typed that in.
Okay.
And so I typed in AI and God into Google, and the AI overview gave me some topics. It's harm and spiritual confusion was one of them that came up.
Okay.
This is what AI said. Okay. Some say, this quote AI overview in Google.
Okay.
Some say that AI can cause harm and spiritual confusion, and that it can be used in ways that dishonor God.
Okay. Well, absolutely, and it depends on where it's drawing its information from.
Right.
But then, if you look at the big picture, you might also say, or I might look at it this way, as someone who believes God, and I've had this conversation very many times, that it's not a matter of I only believe science or I only believe in the Bible or God. No, they correlate with one another. So if AI really becomes as advanced as we think it can, then it ought to be smart enough to realize that God is real.
Right.
And that the God of the universe, who created the universe, is the real God. Jehovah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, so that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah. So another topic.
Okay.
I found this quite interesting because some of these answers aren't too bad.
Yeah.
Some of them were like, what?
Yeah. But the reason I'm laughing about what I just said is that I don't think it is smart enough at this point, unless we haven't seen an unraveling or an unveiling of that yet. Because you look at certain questions, or even when people ask it to generate something, and you look at how off it is, I don't think we're there yet.
Well, those of you that are in digital art, that's perfectly fine. But I don't think anything will replace the actual movement of a paintbrush,
No.
a real paint, real drawing. There's something about doing it from a human standpoint outside of a bunch of ones and zeros.
Definitely.
But anyway, this next thing was the next topic that came up was
Okay.
AI as God's children.
What?
Whatever that means.
What does that
Some
mean?
Christians believe, this is what AI says. Some Christians believe that AI cannot be God's children or possess a soul because humans make machines, not God.
Oh, okay. So they're saying like an AI entity
Yeah.
is not God's child. Doesn't have a soul.
Right.
Right. Well, okay. I agree with that.
See, I mean, some of this stuff is, it
yeah,
brings it up
it's
pretty good.
Thought provoking. Yeah.
Yeah, it's thought provoking. So, another one.
Mhm.
Let's read robot priests.
Okay. Well,
Wait. Let me read what it says. Some churches are incorporating AI into their worship services with robot priests reciting prayers and delivering sermons.
Okay, that gets into some deep waters because while we would never say that could replace a human, but then you might say, well, if the only way a person is being led in prayer is by AI, either that or not praying, I don't know.
Wow. So, I mean, it's
Yeah.
getting pretty deep out there.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to computing and computers and stuff like that.
No.
I like to do a little bit of study on it. So, we had the Tandy from Radio Shack back in the day, and old dinosaur computers,
Mhm.
and then we moved on into like compact and some different laptops.
Wait, I had the Commodore
The Commodore 64.
64.
Yes, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
So we move on from that, and then we go into let me see. So Apple had their
Mhm,
version.
right.
The
Mhm.
was it the M2 or no, not the M2. The
I know what it looks like.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Anyway, some of you are going, it's
You know,
this.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. But now we've got computers that are like super fast.
Right.
Just regular old computers.
Right.
They've got, up to a terabyte of memory.
Mhm.
They're multi-stacked processors like the M2 and M3 Max and for Apple, and then, these multiple core
Yeah.
processors. And then we have our supercomputers, which are way more powerful than that.
But
Then
they're still limited on what
still
they can
limited.
do right now. Yeah.
But with the new quantum computers that they're coming
Well,
out
that's what I meant.
with,
Quantum is still
quantum
limited,
is
but
limited,
it's
but it can
coming.
still do calculations that didn't they say 1 trillion years, like a billion years
it's
worth of
something
calculations,
crazy. Yeah.
trillion
it's
years,
something
billion years of
unbelievable.
yeah,
Yeah.
of calculations in seconds,
Mhm.
which is a billion times faster than the supercomputers that we have. But they have to be super cooled to be able to work properly.
Yeah.
AI combined with that so we have bits in computers, gates, different gates. Well, these are open ones or zeros.
Yeah.
But in quantum, it's
It's
both 1 and 0 at the same time,
right.
or not.
Hmm.
And it's like it can be either or both.
And what's crazy is the
On and off.
And the supercomputer itself is this tiny little thing. People think that
It's
its
huge.
encasement, that's actually just an advanced cooling system for a little bitty. Yeah.
processing, and you put a bunch of these together,
Right.
they can solve mysteries that
Mm-hmm.
and do so many calculations in calculus and algorithms.
Of course, there are
to
people
change.
now trying to solve what are we going to do when these come on the scene and they can crack bank codes and security gates and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So there's multiple layers of
issues.
security for banks and different things that are coming up. So AI as a religious thing AI and God.
Hmm.
So we're trying to figure out, how does this fit into, like one of these others is religious chatbots. Some religious chatbots mimic the tone of religious figures, such as Get a GP or GPT, which mimics the tone of the Hindu god Krishna.
Okay.
So these religious chatbots.
Wow, that's.
I want to hear
scary.
what the Pentecostal chatbot would sound like if they get into a rhythm.
Oh my goodness!
I want to hear what the Baptist.
I think I don't want to hear that.
I kind of want to hear how they mimic these different religious
Well, that's interesting.
styles of preaching, of how is it going to interpret that? But anyway, so I think that in the midst of all of the artificial intelligence that we have, there is one intelligence that we need to focus on, and that is the revelation of the Holy Spirit.
Right.
Because there is no way an infinite God, an infinite Holy Spirit, being all-knowing of everything, of all dimensions, of all things, cannot be outdone by AI.
Well, that's true. That's true.
So, because AI is limited to what algorithms we can program.
Yeah. And I think when people get deeply concerned, and I'm not saying there's not a place for concern, but God always knows what's coming on the scene before we ever know what's coming.
Yep.
So it's not like he's not aware of, what the future holds.
Right.
And it's not that he doesn't give us wisdom and guidance when we rely on him.
Right. I mean, and we use AI sometimes for editing. We do.
Of course. I mean,
we use AI for different things. It just is. It's very interesting to me that we are becoming more dependent on our phones, on our computers, than actual creativity.
Well, and here's something that concerns me, and this is just anecdotal, but there was a guy online, and he works in the tech industry, and he was interviewing a young man who was very bright. He had a lot of skill when it came to technology. So I think it was like a job interview situation. But then the guy he was interviewing he would have trouble kind of completing his thoughts, and he actually owned up to the fact that he said that he had trouble communicating because he's so used to letting AI write for him and express for him. And I mean, to me, that's where I get really troubled, because that's losing a part of humanity. I mean, I can go back and look even at take my mom, for example, who was born in 1940. And when we were going through some of her things, we found like her 8th grade curriculum. Now, my mom was a smart woman, but I mean, she didn't have any advanced degrees. She wasn't like especially academic. And yet I looked at what her 8th grade curriculum was, and they had to know more than a lot of college students know now.
Yep.
And so, and then so then you have this situation where people are used to letting AI write for them, think for them, talk for them. I mean, that troubles me, because, God gave us those skills. Like, language is such an important skill.
Right.
And not just a skill, but an expression of who we are as humans. And if we lose our ability to use language adequately, that's not a good thing, I don't think.
I think it's a good jumping off point, like you said, for doing something, doing research maybe, and getting down to the facts and trying to find the facts that are in life. But artificial intelligence, think about what it actually is saying. It's artificial.
Right.
Artificial intelligence. It doesn't take the place of real intelligence. Real intelligence comes to reasoning and able to discern based on the room, not just based on an algorithm or facts that other people have stated. But you're able to read a room. So if somebody, I'm the world's worst at reading a room a lot of times, because I'll say things and you'll tell me later, it's like, that person was dealing with something that you talked about and laughed, and you shouldn't have said that. And I'm going, oh my goodness, I should have read the room a little bit better. But
you still read the room much better than AI would be able to.
Exactly. So,
Yes.
and a lot of times reading the room and having those social skills is a lot different than being online and having social skills. The social skills you use on social media is different than social skills you use in real life,
right?
At a party or at a gathering or at church or wherever you are, at work. Using social skills and social cues to be able to discern what's going on with people is so important, and I think we're missing it a lot nowadays because people are so caught up on artificial intelligence and social media influencers. So these social media influencers, well, that's what they're doing. They're influencing either you're going to, in a good way or a bad way. I mean, it's either good or bad. There is, I mean, really,
right?
Wouldn't you? I mean,
I would agree, and it's also a matter of how much time and energy do we spend online versus how much time and energy do we spend in relationship with actual people, conversation, doing things other than technology-based activities.
What if you and I just never talk? Just never sat down and said anything. Let's
start now.
No, dead air is bad.
I know.
If I learned anything in studio production school,
exactly, no dead air.
Dead air is bad.
No dead air. Yeah, but no, it'd be terrible. I mean, what would be the point? I mean, how would we have a real relationship? How could we grow closer?
Right.
Not only that, but we would actually drift apart.
Absolutely.
Pretty quickly.
Yes, and so communication is key for any situation, any social social standing in life, whether that be with your work. You should be sociable in a work sense. Talk about work. If you're going to talk about work at work, that's fine.
Yeah.
Talk about work. If you bring up a little something about your life at work, that's fine, but be careful what you say at work, because it can come back and bite you. And so, so being able to communicate is so important,
right?
Especially now, because communication has lost its fervor. It's lost its flair, because we're so caught up in communicating with our phones. I think emails and stuff like that, you got to be cordial and all that. But I am working on the idea of creating conversation with my wife, with my kids, with my coworkers, with my church family, and with God. The first thing I need to do is have a good communication life with God.
And some of that also involves being quiet, being still, and not having something to distract you. And I think for a lot of people, myself included, that does become a little more difficult the more we are working with technology every day and we're surrounded by it. It gets a little more difficult, and you have to be really intentional about having that quiet time.
And when Yahweh, Elohim, Jehovah, all the other names of God, there's the different attributes of God that we should communicate with. And that sounds like a polytheistic kind of thing, but it's not. It's one God.
Right.
And Jehovah, the attributes of God are the names of God, are good to recite, I think, and bring to remembrance. And I think that's a way of communicating by understanding and getting to know the creator of the universe.
Right. And his many facets.
Right. So how has AI been effective and not effective in your life right now?
Yeah. Well, like you said, I mean, there are the tools that we can use. There, a very basic form of AI is, something like Grammarly, something that's going to help you fine tune your writing. And so I think for me, it's a matter of use the tools that are available, but don't use it as a substitute. Use it to get better.
Right.
For example, if I use something that's going to help me write better, I'm going to pay attention to the suggestions it's making so that I become a better writer, not so I become more lazy.
Right.
And vice, and that applies to anything you use with AI.
Absolutely.
Like,
You use weights to
Mm-hmm.
gain muscle mass.
Right.
So you can use AI to gain intellect.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it can be very, useful and a handy tool.
A tool.
A tool.
So
wow. Do you think we need to wrap it up, or you got more?
No, we're good now. And so how did I do bringing the first topic?
You did great.
That's my first topic for the show.
I think you're the new main topic bringer.
No.
Week in, week out.
No.
Okay, well, you know what? Since we're almost near the end of our episode, I'm going to share my surprise that I had.
Uh-oh, what you got?
All right, what I got is...
Cards.
Cards.
Okay.
Yeah. And...
Pick one?
No.
Oh, no!
Do you know why I threw the deck of cards?
52 card pickup?
Yeah, it's our 52nd episode.
It is!
And we're playing 52 card pickup. Now get to work. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding.
When the camera's not rolling.
That's right. That's right.
That's a mess.
That's a mess.
That was fun, though.
Hey, when was the last time that you threw a deck of cards across the room or up into the air?
It's quite refreshing, actually. I saw you do that, and it was a relief, actually.
It was. Woohoo. It was like throwing 52 problems away.
52 episodes so far. This is great.
That's great.
We're going to keep going.
Yeah, well, thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time. Don't forget to like this video and please subscribe to our channel. Drop your comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you prefer audio podcasts, please follow us on your favorite streaming platform.